Viking? Do you know what a Viking is? And then I would
Yeah, let's
love to
start there. Let's do some nomenclature.
nomenclature. Yeah, okay. Well, so we're going to start where we're going to end up in a lot of cases with this, and that is saying let's frame this in terms of a lot of stuff we don't know actually with 100% certainty about the Viking Age. But there is consensus based on good evidence and research that the word Vikingur in Old Norse, which is basically the word Viking with an R on the end of it, is a word that was used at the time and was understood roughly, loosely in our modern idea of it to mean a pirate. So, probably somebody who wasn't nice and engaged in quasi criminal activity.
Well, and to give our viewers a sense of just how thorny of an issue just the word Viking is, saying it was used at the time, my understanding is the only Old Norse uses that we have are from saga literature. Or no, we spoke with William Short and Rainer Oskarsson. They did
Yeah.
say there were rune stones that had it.
Yeah, here, let me get the Bible. And yeah, exactly. That is exactly right.
Okay.
That
As far as
there,
the etymology, though, I did read, I think it was Neil Price who mentioned that
yes,
it
exactly.
was a borrowed word from the Frisians, Wisingas, which was pirate.
Potentially, yeah. Again, this is one of those things that is not known with 100% certainty, but also that the derivative of the sort of the VIK in the word Viking is from the Old Norse word Vik, which is, modern day people maybe have heard of like Reykjavik in Iceland. I mean,
Right.
a Vik is an inlet or a bay, and that these people originally, came from places like that. So,
Right. That's one candidate for the etymology of the word. But then going back
right.
to there, it could also have been Wisingas, which then, and that was interesting because he did say that it would have been an import from the Anglo-Saxon language
Okay.
into
Yeah.
Old Norse. Yeah, because I mean, they brought a lot of their language into Danelaw, and it stands to reason that they would have taken words back as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's one thing too we'll probably talk about over and over on this podcast, and that is this idea of the, massive amount of movement of people in that world. People were taking to the roads and taking to the seas, and the Vikings just happened to be people who took to the seas probably more so and better than anybody else. And yeah, I mean, and like you mentioned Neil Price, I mean, in his book, he talks about the fact that they basically went farther than any of their contemporaries, and they visited or is settled in more than 40 present day countries all over the European and Eurasian world. So yeah, I mean, so then yeah, this thing that we're talking about today, as far as like, well, why? Why did they
Right.
do,
Well, let's start
then
with the Who.
that's the question.
Right.
So yeah, so the Who, the Vikingur. So, and actually, this is something I do. I'll go in my teacher mode. This is something I do with my students too, because for people who maybe are interested in Vikings, like the woman that you met last night, but for them they don't know very much because the Vikings are sort of shrouded in modern pop culture and or 1,000 years of time that has passed. So the mists of time, as it were. That they don't, what we do is we tend to conflate a Viking with Norse peoples in Scandinavia, right? And so, just to be clear, to be a Viking is not an ethnicity. To be a Viking is essentially a job description. Not all people who were Scandinavians were Vikings, far from it, actually. So, we can kind of start there, but I will do a good old fashioned Zoom share screen here, and we can look at least like where um, so this is the world that we're talking about, and those numbers appearing in yellow and red there, those are roughly dates that Scandinavians went to those areas. But you can see they're all over. I mean, this is Europe, right? And we're getting into what is now, Russia, the Baltic states over here. This is Scandinavia, so Norway and Sweden that we're talking about, Denmark down here. And then, of course, Vikings making it all the way west to what says Vinland. But CJ, what is Vinland?
Oh, it's the North American colony
Yep.
that was conferred. Well, it was in saga literature, and then actually, yeah, that's Lonso Meadows is the site where they have reconstructed uh,
Yeah.
the longhouse.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
really interesting saga. There's a lot. There's so much we don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
99% speculation. But yeah, Vinland. But so I do want to point out this map. It shows 2005,
right.
and there has been a lot of scholarship, recent scholarship, 15, whoa, 17,
Yeah,
18 years. It's 2023. My
yeah,
goodness, I need to
exactly.
keep track. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
not keeping up.
yeah.
But a lot of these, so especially with that eastward expansion, it shows, 820, 854. Sure, uh, those were well known through literature, but then you have like that little green on the Baltic there, Estonia, what's now Estonia, Latvia. You had the Groban colony, and then they found that that eastward expansion may have started much earlier, like in the early 700s,
Or before that,
heading out east.
actually. Yeah, actually
Yeah.
even before that. Yeah, so yeah, and we actually do know, so this settlement here, which, has been referred to as the Deadwood of this the age, I guess. Staraya Lagoda is a place that is at the mouth of the Volkhov River and made it so that it was very easy for Vikings, or the Rus as we call them, to come down into what is now Russia. But that this has been dated to like 753, I think is the date. So
Hmm.
as far as the beginnings of that settlement, and it was one of those important, what they call nodes, Node, as far as, these places that just are drawing people from all over for trade and other things. So, yeah, I mean, some of this stuff is pretty early, but I think this map just as kind of a general sketch to just say, look, this, particularly the blue lines, right? This is where these people are going, in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.